be fixing a Antminer D7 Hashboard. It's been a while I up on the stream, and unfortunately today I forgot my headphones, so sound quality will be a bit um, less good than it usually is. Although we do have some changes to the stream that we've brought today. So starting today, the stream will be happening concurrently on YouTube, Facebook Live, Twitter, and Twitch as well. So you can choose the platform of your like. Obviously, the goal for us is to be able to grab a larger audience, but also to give our users or our audience the different options they might prefer to consume that stream. So we'll see how it goes. Right now, I still haven't embedded the different chats into the video, so I'll need to make some tweaking for that to show on the stream. So it's possible that sometimes I reply to a comment that's coming from another platform that you're not able to see. But soon enough, those messages will also appear in the stream, so you'll be able to see the messages coming in from the other platforms as well. So let's see how it goes. This is a first test for me using that platform for streaming and rebroadcasting our different channels. So let's see how it goes, and we'll improve from there, as we always do. So again, D7 Hashboard, I already started working on this one, and I was telling myself, you know what, why not just open a stream and share this? This is the perfect occasion. D7 is a pretty relevant unit to do a live stream for. So I already started working on that board. I identified a problem with this chip here, and so I've brought myself a new chip because I also looked at the resistance of that chip, and it was testing bad. So in that case, I'll just proceed to a chip replacement. Other than that, I think the dashboard should be all in all pretty easy to fix. And so we'll see. Sometimes we think that and it's not the case. So without further ado, let's just start by tinning that chip here. So I'm using my chip stencil like so. I'm able to properly see the chip legs there. Oh, there we go. Perfect, but all right, that's good. I can see all the all I need to see. If you want me to show what I was looking for here, let me put some focus. So you can see, we can see all the chip legs and the pads. Obviously the pads is not too bad because you don't need too much tin there, but the legs is very important to have like to be able to see them. If you don't see them, you're going to be applying tin to something that it won't grab. And so I'm using the chip quick 6337 standard composition tin here. It's a remaining of T3, so soon enough I should be ending that one and get back to the one I prefer, which is T4. But the last order I did before the latest one, there was no T4 remaining, so I had to resort to that T3 solder paste to get it in time. And well, let's just clean that quick. Grab some paper. Right. I might have a weird demeanor. Is because I have a very bad stiff neck at the moment. So dealing with a lot of neck pain. And again, I'm not used to that new platform, so let me go and see if I can have a look at my chat, or actually where I can go and have a look at my chat. I believe here, chat. Yeah, I think I should see the messages from here. Now, if anybody is already watching and just want to hit me up like with a quick WhatsApp or something, so I can just make sure that my chat is actually working and I can see all your messages. And let's proceed with tinning in the meantime. The goal is also to make those live streams more interactive, because we do have a lot of views on those videos, but mostly after the fact. And I understand. I mean, we all work, we all do our stuff, so it's not always possible to tune in for a live during the live, right? And so that's also why we're trying to vary our time where we broadcast. So it's possible, and maybe even today we'll have some more streams. I'm doing this one today, 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock Eastern time. But remember, Wednesdays and Fridays are normally days that we stay at the office longer. So it's days that we have more flexibility to make those live streams. And it's possible that we make another one even today. You never know. Right? So you can see your tin is properly applied to everywhere we want. Here. All right, and let me go back to my chat and see. Yes, Raz, I can see you. Thank you for the test. And I can see you're writing to me from YouTube. So amazing. We'll see how this goes. We'll have to obviously play with it a little to get comfortable with this new platform. But I think I already get the essence of it. And I actually think I prefer streaming that way than directly straight to YouTube. But we'll see. We'll see. In any case, for sure, it's going to be more easier for everybody to participate on the platform of their like. Let's get back to my main screen here. Unfortunately, I only have 2 screens in the office here, and so they're already packed with a lot of stuff to make those streams. Right, looking good. Let me just see. Just give it a quick clean, but it's possible we want to retain a bit the chip legs. We'll see. Just need to clean it up first. And there is. We have a quick look again. Yeah, I want to. And it's a shame because it's just very few of the legs here are a bit at risk of bridging, and I just want to try to optimize my chances of doing just one install, because D7 chips and L7 chips are known for being very weak, unfortunately. So there are probably going to be a lot of repairs for D7 and L7 boards, is what I'm understanding and what I'm seeing from our peers. So it's good business for us, but it's less good because it also means probably more RMAs. It's not always easy for our customers to understand that we might work on an area, but there's always a risk that some other area gives up. It's something we see mostly on 17 series, so far at least. Um, but yeah, D7 and L7, I think they might just be similar to 17 series actually in terms of chip reliance. So it's good for creating repairs for us, but it's less good for the customers buying those machines, and it's less good also for the customers consuming the repairs and not necessarily understanding that some things are out of our hands, right? All right, let's just give some 10 to this clip there. All right. And so if you haven't watched a stream already, I go that way. You could, just bring your solder and go with the sense, the orientation that the solders are. But you can also, if you're very gentle, just go over it, and the flux is gonna do the blobs by themselves. So it shouldn't be an issue there. Just go like that, very gentle. We have a lot of YouTube content, obviously, but we also have a lot of content on our website, and we've been releasing some more stuff lately. Articles about the merge, articles about even some geopolitical risk, that comes with, for instance, Taiwan invasion that could occur from China. We don't wish for it, and it looks like there's a possibility it doesn't happen, but there's also a possibility it happens. And there was one of those reports from a think tank that came out that, in a sense, predicted one of the. It's a war game, right? A war game report, and so it predicted some of the possible outcomes you could get from that kind of invasion. So we did some content about that to try to show the situation and what could be the repercussions on Bitcoin mining. And obviously, you can expect something very similar than what we saw during the pandemic, where there was a sudden shortage of units, there was a sudden shortage of components. So let's say, I mean, Taiwan TSMC is responsible for 92% of the high-end chips that we use in the world. So it's going to have a lot of repercussions on a lot of different industries, but ours as well, because as you probably know, ASICs are like essentially at the front run of the innovations in regards of chips. So, for instance, the S19 is using 7 nanometer, S19 XP is using 5 nanometer, and so keeping all of this in mind, it might create a shock to the supply once more. And there are some rumors that at the moment Bitmain has stopped production for units. It might be unrelated, and it probably is. It might be related to the Bitcoin rate as well. Let me just bring the camera here so you can see. I'm here because I just want to heat under a bit before putting the heat on top. And so, yeah, it's possible that the repercussions create another quick shortage. So obviously, it might be a good idea to have good relations with businesses, brokers, repairmen, and everything that are located in a safer jurisdiction, at least in the point of view of Occidental countries. So Canada and US is definitely a good bet, I think. Again, sorry for the bad sound quality today. Forgot my headphones. My bad on this one. Yes. Come on. Some days like that, you have a bit of the shake. So I'll just add on a bit of, make sure I'm on top of the right one. Yeah, you can see there's a bridge there and it's not 100% properly aligned, so I'll just give this a small twist. But yeah, I'm like all my muscles here are painful at the moment, and I think it's enhancing my shake because it's more pronounced than it usually is. Give it more heat from under. This one, actually. Maybe it moved while I was doing it. Now, very gently, you put some pressure on top of the chip to make sure it's well grabbed, well soldered. Not too bad, especially with those fragile chips. Come on. There we go. So now it's really well aligned. There's the pressure. So let's cool it down and see. We come back to that platform here. Meshal, hello. do you use your ultrasonic for cleaning? If yes, what is your recommendation if you wish to buy one? Yes, we do. We actually have a lot of ultrasonic cleaners. Recommendation, well, it depends obviously on which type of model you'll be working on. So if you're working on, say, T17s, I believe the 6 liter or 10 liter is going to be just enough to to place one hashboard. If you're working on, say, S17 plus, in that case you need at least the 16 liter, I believe. If you're working on 19 series, then you want to go for a 30 liter at the very minimum. And obviously you can always go for bigger, so you can go for 30 liters, 60 liters, and have more of those um, dashboards all against each other during the ultrasonic cleaning. So that's one. Second, you want to use distilled water. So obviously you don't just use normal water for that, because water has minerals, and as you probably know if you're doing electronic repairs, is the minerals, actually the minerals residue that's going to be left on the board might be creating a short on something that you don't want, and so it might create damage, and sometimes it can be permanent damage. It can lead to burns. So distilled water is one very important factor to keep in mind. And for the soap you want to use, the liquid you want to use, just look for anything that's using the Branson EC solution. It's a solution you mix with your distilled water. There are different manufacturers here in Canada. We have our own supplier, but there are some of those all around the world. So just look for a supplier around you that has this. Uh, Creates it locally with the Branson EC standard. Right, so just to speed it up a bit, let's have the D7 sitting on some fans here. Perfect. And we'll pull from the top too. Again, normally, whenever you, so for instance, if I'm working on anything that has volume, D7, L7, we don't have too much volume so far. But if you're working on anything that has volume, for instance, 19 series, 17 series, in that case, you want to put some boards on the side, and you work on a board, do whatever you have to do, let it cool down on a fan beside you, and work on another board in that time. Sometimes you can just like do some touch on 3 boards at a row, get back to the first one, and it's still a bit warm to the touch, but just enough for you to test it. Depends on how quick you intervene and how bad the situation is on the board you're working on. But sometimes it's possible to do like 3 boards at a time, and obviously you maximize results that way. And for anybody that's doing repairs, like, either you better ship it to us because we have much more experience doing it, or either you better have at least one dashboard an hour fixed. Otherwise, that mining company is essentially wasting money, because they would rather be mining than just waiting for those repairs to happen. So it's much more profitable that way. So it's dynamics you have to keep in mind. So if you haven't, if you're in the stream and you haven't watched our latest trailer yet, it's don't waste your time. We do it better. It's a good watch. It's a 1 hour, not 1 hour, 1 minute short video, just to demonstrate a bit what we did so far on our YouTube channel, all the different tutorials we gave. Obviously, giving those tutorials, I think, proves the point that we're pretty confident in what we're doing. So let's have a look at the diode measurements of that board. And I swear I will get rid of that glare we have in the multimeter here. Actually, we might just bring a new, might bring the streaming station to a new spot here in the office. It's actually a 2-floor office. We have a lot of room. We have the back store, everything. And so we might just bring a streaming station, to a dedicated spot for streaming, and maybe get one of those nice microscopes. But for now, this microscope does just good, right? It's $40 instead of like $1,000 to do almost the exact same thing. You get very good view of what you need whenever you need to work on an area. So if we go back to that chip I just worked on, is that the one? That's the one here, right? So you get everything you need. If you need to work on those resistance, if you need to run a trace or anything, that does it pretty good. So you don't really need more than that, but obviously it's fun to have more than that. So maybe we'll have one of those in the some of the next streams. Bitcoin has been doing better lately, the last 2 days. Obviously, we don't want to get our hopes up. We did see some sucker bull runs in the past. One thing that is different this time is that you do have that volatility signal that triggers about every 2 weeks. That triggered 2 days ago, and coincidentally, we can see that that move start to happen. So I think this time might be a bit more positive than it was in the past for that upswing. We'll see. Thanks. Technical question. So Michelle is asking, the 1.8 volt LDO, where does it get the voltage source on pin 1? So, well, on D7, I would have to look back on 19 series, but it's always, there's three, on 19 series, I think there's three chips that does the distribution to the different LDOs. And so you can use your continuity test. The one that beeps? This one? You can use a continuity test against the pin 1 of your LDO and see on which of those other pins from this distribution it rings, and you're going to be able to know and pinpoint that it's coming from that other pin from that other IC. At the moment, and since I don't have the 19 series in front of me, I'm not sure exactly. So again, whenever you need to figure it out, though, is you can just use your continuity test and be able to figure out the source of let's say this pin here on the pick. You can go and try to find the source of where it's coming, by testing against other components like that, for instance. So yeah, the 1.8 can be sourced from a lot of places, but mainly your LDOs are fed by, I believe, tree distribution on the 19 series. And you'll have about that, like the equivalent on 19 series would be about that part here, fed by the chip that's somewhere here, I think in the back. You have one that's on the top here that does most of the board, and you have another, I just can't recall by heart at the moment, but in any case, you're able to find it out by looking at the schematics and using your multimeter in continuity mode. And I'll just answer that question in a stream for 19 series next. So we have one and we can actually go and figure it out together. All right, let's get back to this. So diode measurements is actually what we wanted to do at the moment. Let me bring the light and see if it helps. It doesn't really. Okay, so I'll just say the numbers out loud and you can tell if it's good or low. So let's get back to the previous chip. I always look the surrounding chips of the one I worked on. So this is the chip we worked on, and the chip that precedes it is this one here. And so remember, diode measurements is the standard is to use your red probe to inject the voltage and to make the measurement with your black probe. And so if we go ahead and look at the clock, I'm getting 0.972, so 972, and we're supposed to get 1K. So that's good because it's give or take 2030 is good. TX, I'm getting 976 on 1K as well. RX from the previous chip, the one we just installed, is 550, and we should be getting 550. RST 738, and I should get 745. And BI 973, and I should be getting 1K there too. So already we know the RX out of this chip, diode wise, is good. So let's proceed to the chip we just installed and do the next measurement. Clock 976, amazing. And so you didn't see that part because I started with that chip already removed, but I had 1.1K on clock, 1.1K on TX, and on BI as well, I think. So in any case, already having my clock here at 975 makes me think that this is good news for that chip installation. TX 975, we should be getting 1K. RX 535, we should be getting 550. So it's still on the good side. RST 746, I'm getting 745, and BI 977, I should be getting 1K. So resistance wise, this chip is looking very good. I know I didn't have any, or at least previously I didn't have any issues with my LDO there, and so I don't feel the need to measure my LDOs. But if we want to do it, we can also measure our LDOs by looking at the capacitors that are on the way, on the same tracks than our LDOs. And so one way to measure that is to look on the insides of those capacitors. And I'm getting, see here, 446, and sorry about that. $446. Next one just doesn't want to make a measure. Oh, actually, is it on the outside, this one? It should not. Okay, say we look at this one. 446, yes. It's weird. Should be getting a measurement there. Let's look at the neighbor domain just to see. This one I'm getting a measurement 457 and 128 on this one. So let's look again here, and we were working right there. So this is not necessarily bad news because it might just be that I'm getting a hard time to make contact, but it's not necessarily good. Might have an issue on the chip install. It's possible that the 1 point on D7 is 1.2 or 1.8, I'm not sure anymore. It's possible that this one is getting an issue there. So let's go and try to see. But normally you'd be able to measure those two and see if the LDO is all good. So it's possible we have an issue with the LDO. It's also just possible I'm getting a bad grab. All right, so let's start our testing. We're at 13.5 volts on the lab power supply. Hashboard is connected, poles are properly installed, so we can go ahead and start the test. Yeah, now I'm getting 0 ASICs. So we most likely got a problem on the LDO track there. Bring this back like this. Turn on diode. Oh, I'm getting it now, but I'm getting 113, 113, 114. Let's just look at the neighbor. 456, 130. So it's close. It really is close. So I'm not sure that's an actual issue there. Okay, so got 0 ASICs now. We were stopping right here just before. We've installed our new IC. Every signal is measuring just fine. Yeah, 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 yeah. Four 56, 115. And if we look at the one just besides it, 457, 130 essentially. So very close, but it's possible it's an issue because if we look at the other 130 again, 130 again, so it really is here, 130, but that domain here now has an issue related to the LDO if we compare to the others. Just clean and try to figure out. So I think we won't be able to shortcut this. We'll have to remove the chip and reinstall again because it probably is missing just a little bit of good connection. Let me. So I'm looking a bit more because again I'm getting used to that new stream. How do you test the diode? Can you use zoom camera? Yeah. Okay. Let's do that before we make any changes. So you still see my multimeter here. I have the Fluke 17B plus. Let me put. I'll try to just go and shut one of the curtains and see if it gives us a better visibility. Still, that's the one. Not too crazy. Let's see if we just make this one a bit like that. Is it better now? Try to keep this in the outfall there. I think that's gonna help. Nah, didn't help too much. All right, so we'll have to do with that for now. Microscope. So let's go over that clip here I just installed. So this is the one. Now if you, let's get a bit more distance so you can see the touch points as well. All right. So again, red probe is the one you use to kind of inject the voltage of the multimeter on the track you're going to be measuring. Short and measure with the black probe. All right. So in that case, I'm looking at this chip here. I want to measure the signals out of this chip. So the signal is flowing from that chip to that one here, right? So when I'm doing my diode measurement, I'm using the ground here to inject and the black probe to make my reading. Now, if I look at that point here, oops, see, now I was in resistance mode. I need to put myself into diode mode. And so if I put the light here on the multimeter and show you, you might not see, but there's the little diode symbol here. So you need to have this on your multimeter, obviously. Inject, measure, and clock. You can see I'm getting 975 at the moment. 975, and we're looking for a value of about 1K. So I know 975 is good on D7. TX, I'm getting 974. RX, I'm getting 535. The RX is flowing the other way, so it's actually measuring the RX resistance of that chip. 746 for RST, and BI 976, and I should be getting 1K. So I know that the resistance of that chip, and probably the chip as well, is good, and it's properly installed, at least for those signals, because there's no additional resistance or there's no missing resistance that removes that voltage that we inject from the multimeter during the diode measurement. So this is what diode measurement allows you to do, is essentially you're trying to subtract what the feedback you're getting to account the resistance of a chip with that lost value, and that lost value is deducted from the values the multimeter will show you, and that gives you a hint of how it's if it's properly installed and if the chip is good as well. So in that case, I have no doubt the chip is good because I'm getting the measurements I should be getting, and it's a new chip. We just timed it together, so everything looks good there. Now, where I have an issue is with those two capacitors right there. So you can see the lanes right there, right? Those are the in that case, if I'm not mistaken, this one is the 0.8 and this one is the 1.8. Again, I'm not sure if D7 is 1.2 or 1.8, but for sake of the speech, let's just say it's 1.8 and 0.8. So what I do again is I just come and place myself on the ground with my red probe, and I know that my output is on the insides of those capacitors. So I'm just gonna go here and try to get a good grab of my capacitors, and I can see I'm getting, whoops, it can be a bit tricky to get 453 measurement on the left one. So this is my 0.8, and say this one is 1.8. If I measure it, 115, I'm getting 115. Now, those values, they change from boards to boards. So you, with time and with practice, you get to learn them more by heart. But D7, L7, and some of the 19 series models I'm still not as used to them as 17 series. So obviously, what I will do in that case is I will just go to a neighbor domain. Let's say this one. So this chip here, right? So I do the same here, and I'll measure 0.8. I should be getting, and I know this is working because when I started working on that board, this here was working. So I'm getting 458 and 132. And so I did my measurement on different domains, and uh, I'm always getting around 130. And on this one, I'm getting 150, and now I'm getting a 0 ASIC out of a chip that I know should be working, right? So my suspicion right now, based on the measurements I just did, and also based a bit on the physical appearance of it, is, let me take the tweezers for that. If you look just right there, you can see that solder is maybe a bit weaker than the other ones that are like well balled. So, and I almost feel like my tweezer can just pass by here, but here and even here, but here I'm feeling the bump. Here I'm feeling the bump. So my expectation right now, based on the measurements we did, and based on the physical inspection we can do, is that unfortunately this pin and maybe this pin don't have the proper connection, a proper solder, and that's why on those lanes that are connecting to the 0.8 and 1.8 here, I'm having an issue. And I'm measuring that issue. Normally, when it's related to the LDOs, it's going to be shown, it's going to infect the whole domain. So again, I could verify that by coming to the other chip right here under it, which is part of the same domain. So let's do that, and let's have a look. That's what I did just before, and I know that this domain will be infected as well. But I know I haven't touched this chip, and it was working before, so I'm pretty sure that this chip is not an issue. 455, 115. All right, so this indicates that it's related to LDO on that domain. And I know the LDO is working as well because that chip was powered on before. So I know that the LDO is able to do its job. And if anything, right now it's because the probably here I have what we call a cold solder joint. So it's just not soldered well enough, and we'll just have to restart. So let's do that. Hopefully that helped Michelle. So whenever it's on the edge and it's possible, you 19 series L77, you might want to put a bit of heat under the board before over it, just to to weaken, to liquefy the solder that's on the pads. They're a bit more tricky, a bit more heavy, more heat resistant than the 17 series per se, for instance. Um, it has its positives, it has its negative as well. But mostly positive because it looks like the 19 series is more resilient than the 17 series for sure, at least. It's a bit harder for rework, but it's nothing bad either. All right. So let's just retain a bit the pads of my chip. Make sure it's well tinned. Retain maybe even those pads here. So make a proper connection on the next solder. All right. This station wasn't built with streaming in mind, and with each of the streams we try to rearrange a bit the cameras or stuff like that, but it makes our mobility a bit more of a struggle. Um, so that's one of the motivators for getting making a dedicated office for streaming. Just clean and see if it's doing the job. Yeah, looks good. Just turn on our chip. Let me bring back the general camera. Right there. And bring that chip here. All right. The other side. All right. And we'll clean and insert. Perfect. Let's keep this that way. Leave some space for me to eat under, and obviously the heatsink under is removed. Black line flux, which is very ideal to avoid any bridges forming. It's a very good flux. I highly recommend it. All right, everything looks aligned. So we'll eat a bit under and start eating on top. Make sure it's well set and test again. And let me see if we have any more chats in the meantime. On diode testing, do place the tester on the left or right blade of the chip. It actually don't matter that much for diode testing. The reason is that you just need to be on the ground. You don't necessarily need to be on the domain ground. So either place is gonna do just fine. Other than that, well, you just follow logic, right? So the logic is really simple. Where is your power coming from and where is it going to? And so in this case, the power distribution is all on that side, right? And it's flowing like this from domain to domain. And based on your signal flow, you'll want to um, make the measurements accordingly. So let's just finish installing that chip and we'll look after. ce sera pas long. Alright, so right now I think the solder is looking very good. Let's just give it a bit of time to cool down and investigate together. But from the eye, looking good. And sorry again, I might have a bit of a weird position, or I don't know if it's showing on the camera, but I have such a stiff neck and back at the moment. I don't feel at full liberty in my movements right now. All right. So we'll need to give it some time to cool down. All right, so to get back to what I was saying, let's just place this for cooling down here, right there. So your power is going from here to here. It has to go through the board. So when you're looking at your 0.8 and 1.8, a lot of people, a mistake they do is they think that the 0.8 is coming from the first chip and going, like this from domain to domain. But that's not the case. Actually, you have 0.8 and 1.8 current for your not current but augmentation for your chips signal augmentation, but you also have the raw power that's actually used to power on the chips and do that hashing that's coming from here going through those lanes right there, right? On 17 series you can see them as well with the three stripes. So that's where the power is flowing through, and it's being pushed by a game of resistance on the back and capacitors and all that fun stuff that designers looked into. And that's also why you have those domains, because the domain is like a way to, with the differential, is like a way to create pressure for the power to go from left to right on your hashboard in this case. In any case, what you want to do is ground to where the power is sourced. So the ground for this, because ground is a reference point, right? So the ground of that chip, for instance, will be on the left here. Why? Because it's another way to see this is this, or let's come here because there's a bit of light here. Let's say this chip here. Okay, this is negative, this is positive. Going here, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, and so on. So when you are looking for ground, you're looking for a reference point. That's what ground stands for. And so your reference point is going to be the negative pole. And so you just look at the uh, at your actual power flow on the hashboard, and you know where you need to position yourself. And sometimes, even though we know all that concept and we work on those boards always, it happens to the best of us to just forget while you're doing something, you're measuring at the wrong spot. But most of the times you'll be able to figure it out just by the readings you're getting. You'll see the readings are very odd, and so you're going to be able to look, oh, I'm not connecting to the right pad, try again, and everything is good. But to get the logic of it really is just to see how your power is flowing from one side of the board to the other. So I still want to cool this a bit down before doing my diode measurement, because heat will give me weird results as well. So whenever your board is too warm or too hot, you need to let it cool down a bit before doing your measurements, because sometimes you'll get carried away actually, and you'll think, say, chip 18 is bad or chip 19 is bad, but it's just that the board is not balanced yet, and it can create or remove some resistance. Heat is actually adding some resistance to your chips and board, and so obviously you don't want to make those diagnostic when the results are bad. You want to make sure that you can trust your measurements. And so the best way to trust your measurements is to learn to save time by taking your time. That's something I say a lot of time, because sometimes, and especially because I pressure my team a lot, because I want them to get good results and push for more hashboards, and we try to to find the best way to produce the more repairs as possible. But there's also a balance where you have to take some time to be able to save time and make those dashboards faster. So if you try to do your installation too quick, or if you try to shortcut some steps, it might come back and hurt you. For instance, if you start just blindly changing some chips, well, each of those times, 5 minutes, to eat and replace, 5 minutes to cool down, while maybe it was just a resistance, or maybe it was the chip just after, but you didn't sort it out before doing your manipulation. And each manipulation you're doing is also adding to the possibility of creating more damage. Anytime any technician, however how skilled they are, it could have been 25 years they do chip replacement, there is always a risk whenever you touch a board that you create more damage. It's always going to be that way whenever it touches your board. So let's get back to our diode measurements, and just go into what we did before. Let's do it on a microscope so you can see and follow as well. And it's probably more fun and more aesthetic to see. So this is the chip. Already we can see that it looks better soldered on the left, right? Remember those here? And yeah, I do feel a small bump now, which I wasn't before. So that might have done it. And one way we can do that, we can measure that. I was about to say let's go to the chip just under it to look for the LDOs, but let's just use this one. We don't need to use the one under. So 0.8 is still good. I get 448. Now let's see 1.8. And I'm getting 110 now. So it's not necessarily better actually. 110. I mean, 110 is close, but the other chips from other domains, they give me 130. So we'll see. Let's just look at our signals while we're there and while it's already installed. And if not, it could indicate, because remember, it's looking for the resistance of that domain. So it could indicate also maybe a bad capacitor or bad resistance in that way. But for some reason I have a doubt, because I know that domain was well fed before. 972 on the multimeter for clock. 966 for TX. 532 RX. 743 RST. 970 for BI. Alright, so those are exactly the kind of measurements we want. The only measurement I have doubt about is the one for the domain that I'm reading out of these capacitors here, that could indicate a bad LDO connection. So let's see. It's not, I'm not really used to work on the D7s. I mean, except for this one, I've worked on 2 other hashboards. And one of the other hashboards I worked on was with you guys on the stream, which we fixed. So I'm not necessarily the best authority yet for D7s. But you know what they say, repetition makes perfection. And so that's just what we'll do. So, alright, pole is good. IO cable plug. Power on my power supply 13.15. try to see our reading this time. Zero chip, zero ASIC. Let's try to see what's voltage. So this is the chip we changed here. Yeah, I was just saying just before, right? RX, yeah, I don't get nothing here. Here, nothing here as well. Save this one. 1.7. Okay. This RX here. 1.7. This domain here, RX 1.7. This one is not giving out 1.7. So the neighboring chip might be responsible for me not getting my RX. This one is connected to this one. Okay, so let's stop voltage testing for now. We don't want to create any more damage to the board. And let's get back to our diode measurements. So diode. This one was good. This here is good. Clerk is good. EX is good. RX good. RST good. DI good. This one is not outputting to this one. 535. Don't get it. Come here. Let me just see. So this is my domain here. So I need to remove that one right there. So now we've just uncovered the heatsink from that domain that had the LDOs just under it. And so we'll be able to get a better look of what's going on there. And camera. So those are my two LDOs there, right there. And physically, it's all looking good. Pretty standard LDOs, so I believe it's going to be a 0.8 and 1.8, yes, because those are LDOs I normally do see on 0.8 and 1.8. Here we can remove some of the flux, that came from top of the chip, came under, and made it a bit dirty, but that shouldn't be cause of any issues. In any case, we'll just clean a bit. Oops. Well, now, I normally do my readings from the capacitors there, but we'll try to see if diode can give us a hint on the LDOs themselves. I'll just need to use something more precise for that, and I'll see. I'm not sure, so just a second there. One of those pins doesn't seem to react. I have my doubts that it's LDO damage. In any case, one of the best way to make sure and figure it out is to again power on the board, but this time come and measure the LDOs. So we'll just get this plugged. That. Make sure all is good. Perfect. Power on. Start. Go to voltage. And start to have a look. On that domain, obviously you want to ground on the domain. 80. 1.8. So my LDOs are good. My LDOs are good. So the issue is not the LDOs. Alright, so let's go look at the neighbor domain. RX was breaking there, so after all, it's possible the issue is there. But you want to make a better assessment before changing chips on a D7 because those are expensive chips. Let me see if I have any more questions. It's been a while I've looked. Can you do more video on What's Miner, please? Yes, we will do more videos on What's Miner. I was expecting a batch actually to come in like this week, but it got scheduled for later. So we'll see when that batch comes in. But I do have another customer that reached to us today that should be sending us about 20 to 30 What's Miner to fix. So we should have plenty of those to work on and be able to do some content on those. Again, remember that we're, our priority is always to make sure the repairs are done in due time for our customers. And so doing those streams is actually taking a lot of our attention. See that board, maybe it would already be done if I wasn't like speaking and because of the stream and explaining. And while I really enjoy doing that and I want to keep on doing that and it makes us more visible to our public and everything, it slows us down in our repairs because when we're hyper focused on what we're doing, we're able to produce more repairs. And so our focus remains doing the repairs in due time for our customers. But I believe with a batch of like 30 What's Miners, we should be able to fit some into streaming. All right, the whole area is clean now. Sorry, Randy knows as well. I'm sick and my back is hurting. Everything. In Canada, it's that part of the year getting cold. Well, this week actually is pretty hot, but it is getting cold all in all. Almost all the leaves already fell from the trees, and so life is giving its place to death in some sense. Let's see if you still have a good view there. Let's bring that a bit like that. All right. Go back multimeter on voltage mode. Put back the multimeter on screen. Poles are good. Power on. Shoot some. Now that domain here is the one I want to go and measure. 0.8, 1.8, and just for the sake of it, 0.8, 1.8. All right. So we're getting what we should be getting, and now I don't have a 0 ASIC on screen. It's saying 47. I just stopped the test. Let me just go back to this here and see if it matches. I need to get a longer I/O cable for the streams. 47 would be this one here, and so 48, which is the one I've worked on, would be where the signal is stopping again. Let me try to process that quick. So again, it's weird because we did our measurements there. We looked at our LDOs. I mean, there's only two things we haven't scratched too much is neighboring resistance and capacitors. Because here, diode wise, let's go back to the previous one. I always like to go to the previous where I have an issue. Now it says my signal is stopping at 47, which is this one here. So I'll be looking at the one here and go back to the chip install. So diode, clutch. No, I'm on continuity. There we go. Clutch. That's low. 927. 927. Actually, might be still a bit warm though, so that might explain it, but I'm getting weird measurements there. Let's just put more cooling. Alright, let's get back to it. So, 47, 47, 1, 2, 3, 4, this one. 47 is going this way, so we want to measure this one here, diode here. So let's go and look at the clock. So you can see it's rising now, so it's probably explained by the heat. Still a bit on the low side, but I really expect that to be caused by the heat. So it's 943 at the moment. TX is 943 as well. RX is 543, and we should getting 550, so it's good. RST 739 on 745 is good. BI is 946. Now let's go to the chip from that domain here we worked on. So clock is 949, TX 952, RX 541, RST 730, which is alright. DI 955, which is good too. Again, let's go to that chip we just installed. Clock 956, TX 956, RX 530, RST 740, and BI 960. So it really looks like the issue is related to this domain. You know what, I guess we can just try to reflow this one, because remember, our LDO we're measuring, what was it, 110, while all the other domains are measuring 130, but I'm expecting this to work. It should be working. So let's 444 and 105 at the moment. Look at the neighbor domain. 5, 544, 49, 120, 550, 123. It's really hard to say, but I mean, my measurements are saying that everything here is good. And that chip, when I first decided to change this one, the resistance to the chip was bad when I measured it, and the signals um, before changing it was measuring weird on the diode, so it wasn't good values. So I know this chip was for sure bad. So 1.9. Really, everything is looking good there. So maybe we can just add some resistance measurements, but it's really pointless because my diode is telling me already the answers I need. All right. Since our issue is in that area and that we already removed those heat sinks, I mean, I have nothing to lose to just give it a good reflow. So let's just do that and see what we get after. But my measurements are all good. So from a certain point of view, I'm just expecting this to work. Now, voltage-wise, we did stop, but we stopped on the following domain. So we worked on this one, and we stopped on this one. This one at 1.7 going to here. If I remember correctly, this one was shooting our 1.7 as well, but from this one to this one, no. Now we changed this one, so you would think, I don't think the resistance of that chip would have impacted this one, but sometimes I see some weird stuff with neighboring chips, so it's possible that it's one of those that is responsible. Um, that is right though. My colleague is showing me something I forgot to do, and I should do more often actually. And sometimes I think of it, but I guess the streamings makes you forget sometimes. I should be looking to short my 1.8 and just pinpoint my issue. And it's advice I give on the Discord, but I forget about it whenever I'm doing it myself. So let's just do that before doing anything more. I should have thought about it. All right. I really should have thought about it before. This is such a shame I didn't. Alright, so I started jumping. Yes, exactly. Exactly. So this is what you need. So you just take two probes, join together, and you'll be able to use those probes to short wherever you need. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, for that, I need to use the domains 1.8, and so I just want to make sure my 1.8, this one here, and this one is, okay, yes, okay. So cycle here. RX is from here, so let's say set it here. Now this RX is going to be coming from this one, so I need to go and short here to here. Zero shift. And if I go this one 6, so it is looking like the chip I installed is still the issue for some reason. Well, it's probably not the chip though. That's the thing. RX is going here to here. If I jump here, I don't get it, and it's going this one, so it has to be a problem with this one still. So let's just go ahead and proceed with the reflow anyways here, because with that chip I expect it to be good. I looked at it and it's supposed to be good, and all the signals diode wise are measuring good. But if I jump there, I'm not getting my return to go through. And what we did jumping after this one is we actually see that everything up to here is working good. So this one, if we can see it, it means on somewhere here there still has to be an issue because we jumped to this chip. Like it wouldn't, like any other issues on the board wouldn't be affected by what we did. Yeah, 1.8. So Michelle asking if we can use the microscope to do the jumping. Yeah, I'll do that just after. And then Gally, just to make sure it really was the 1.8 I jumped. So the capacitor that is connected to the LDO that has the 1.8, I use this one to jump to my RX. So we'll see if reflow could help. I mean, I have some doubts because my diode measurements are good. It's the first time, I think, it's the first time that I get all my diode measurements good, but no signal to go through. This cable really is an issue. Let's see if I can bring this a bit like that. Right. So before I do, and I show you, Michelle, how to do the jumping, I'll just do again my diode measurements because I always do that before injecting voltage from my power supply into the board. Just want to make sure that I won't be, creating more damage that I could prevent just by having a quick look. So they're a bit low, but they're normal, because of the heat that's still in the board right now. So this is looking good. Okay. All right. Let's give it still a little shot to cool down. In the meantime, I have this one that's been annoying me with some flux. I'll just remove and clean. So let's put ourselves into voltage there. Let me see if you do have the multimeter. You do. Now, 15 volt on the lab power supply. Starting test now. And what I can do is microscope, right? So microscope. This is the one chip we worked on. Power is coming from here. And so if I want to figure out which of the LDOs, I can just come and touch here. And you can see this one is the one that has 1.8 volt. And this one is the one that has, well, now it's 1, but it's normally 0.8. But something's happening there because now this is giving me 1 volt. Where did I put my jumping cable? Down. So, based on that, when you short your 1.8, obviously you need to use the LDO, the 1.8, from that domain, from the domain that is shooting the RX signal. And so in the case of that chip here, RX is coming from the previous domain, from the previous chip. So obviously, if I want to make the jumping, I need to go and do it from that one here, on that side here, to the RX, to jump over that chip. See, the goal here is to jump over that chip. Say this chip is the problem. If I jump over it, my board will light up until this chip here. So when I'm looking, for instance, on the arc tester, I should be getting all my chips green up to this chip here, and stops here because the clock is not able to pass through this one. But because of the RX jumping from here to here, it's now skipping that chip. That would be the issue if this chip is the issue. Now, if I measure 1.8 on that domain, and I say measure this one here, I'm going to use my 1.8 to jump over that chip where it's starting from on that domain, jump over to here, and I should be seeing my signal going up to this one here on the arc tester, because my clock is going to be making its way up to here. All right, so I don't know if that makes sense as an explanation. So again, maybe we can try to have the 4 of the chips we're trying to measure now on the screen. That. All right. So let's try again. But now the weird thing is I was getting also 1 volt, which I wasn't before. I was getting 0.8. So RBFlow might have done something else. Some other funny stuff there. Back to 0 ASIC. All right. So remember we installed this one here. So if I want to jump, I need to go and get my 1.8 from this one to this one. And it's not giving me nothing. Now say I jump over this chip here, so I get my 1.8 from here, and jump here. I'm getting 47 chips. You can't see it on the screen right now, but let me bring back that camera here. You can see right now we're at 0 chip, but we had a test with the 47 that triggered there. So let's stop again. Start the test over, so you can see it's still 0 chip, 0 ASIC, 0 ASIC. Well, it's giving 1 for some reason right now. And we suspect this is the bad chip, right? So we'll jump over it. We'll take the 1.8 from that capacitor here and bring it to the RX here. And now it doesn't do it. But I just did. The one here, 1.8 from here to here. And now it's doing it on purpose because I'm streaming, obviously. All right, start over again. 1.8, we want to take, we take this point here. We're at 0 chip and bring it here. And now it's giving this. one chip at the moment. All right, so there has to be some other issue that I'm not seeing right now on that board. I'm gonna have to investigate a bit further. I really thought this would be a quick fix board because I was just expecting this chip to be faulty. Seems that we are able to get the right diode measurements out of installing that new chip here. Everything is good. The signal is looking good. LDO is a bit on the low side, but I would expect it to pass. It's just that it's the only thing I was seeing that was clearly like clearly not that clearly, but that was different a bit of the values I would measure on the other domains. Is that actually the 1.8 LDO that was a bit weaker on the diode measurements, but nothing too bad. I mean, give or take 20 normally, so it should be passing through, but it's not. So I fixed a bit on that one because that's the difference I could measure. But it's going to require more diagnosing, and I don't think I'm going to be losing too much time on stream doing that. I'm going to need a bit more concentration, but at least maybe you have seen a bit more of the concepts. At least I think the stream can still be useful because we did go through a lot of stuff and we did have some of our victories where we normally have the right diode measurements after changing that chip, but now we can't go through it. I don't think the solder job is to is in question because again we can go and see and it's looking very very good. It's a good solder right there. It's a bit dirty because it's the microscope and you can see all the flux and all the grains and stuff like that, but apart of that, the solder itself is very good. I've seen much worse solder working than that, and I think that's a good solder. I don't think that's the issue there. I don't think the resistance is the issue either because we would have seen it in our diode measurement. LDOs is not in question, but the RX for some reason is not able to pass here. But it's not either that chip that is bad because whenever we're shorting our 0.8, we're able to get a response from that one, but not from that one. It really is this one chip, but the chip is good and signals are good. So yeah, I'm gonna have to do more figuring it out. I guess I'll put a comment in the video whenever I do the figuring out and let you guys know what ended up fixing my issue there. But I'm gonna have to end the stream for now. Go eating a bit. Maybe what I'll do, and maybe it's gonna be on this board, maybe another board, but maybe what I'll do is if I can squeeze some more time today, I'll do another stream today. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Even though if it's no fix for now, this board will be fixed. I don't think there's anything preventing us from fixing it. It's just me that needs to figure out the exact part that's causing the issue there. And I really have my doubts that it's the chip. I don't think it's the chip, but in any case, I'm gonna have to figure that out. So we'll let you go for now and see you again in next stream. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you liked our content. We do it for free. We give a lot of valuable content that a lot of people are charging for, and I believe in sharing. I believe that more and more repair centers that are going to be out there, repair technicians and everything, is good for the industry as a whole, and so that's what we're trying to achieve here. So do share and give us some comments if you have any questions or any maybe hints for me for whatever I could have missed on that board. Thanks for being with me and see you soon. Bye-bye.